Hello, everybody. Suffolk Ram here from Rant Nerds, and welcome to another one of my Ram Rants. Apologies for the delay between my previous one. It's been not a lot has really sort of piqued my interest, so I've not had a lot to talk about. But I've just brought up basically what to do on these because I have just recently purchased. Well, it was on a Steam offer. Ark Survival Evolved. Survival, I need to say survival horror game. Game basically you're set on a tropical island, and you have to survive. So quite near the game. I've done a few hours of it, so I've just got a few first impressions. So, start with you create your character. Now, your default character is ridiculously bluff. I mean, sort of, he put Arnold Schwarzenegger to shame. He's just such a manly man. And the other default ones aren't much good. I mean, they range from semi-normal to basically nowhere near any human I've ever seen normal. Just a vast selection of characters that just don't make any sense. So, yeah, I'm certainly going to want to adjust your character when you start. So now, when I first tried to do mine, I tried to make one a little more human by like reducing the size of his head and his shoulders, and creating a strange freak with these massive fleshy hands. You can also go the opposite way totally as well. You can just sort of increase size the opposite way, and then there's even other bigger freak who just, everything, all these body parts clip into each other. I'm sure someone out there has done that already. It's got a character in the server like that and just looks like an idiot, to be honest. But a little bit fiddling, and you manage to create a character that's semi-normal, something you can live with, or even toned down your character that still looks ridiculously fit for a human being. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do because he's going to have a gym to work with when he starts on the island. So you end up on the island, you start off, and I have to say, it looks really nice. Makes me think of the first Far Cry, maybe because it's set on a tropical island. But just look around, I mean, the water is beautiful, the sky looks good, everything about it looks good. I mean, there's a beautiful sunlight effect. I was walking through a forest, and the sun was going down. The way it sort of struck through was absolutely incredible for what I thought for an early access. I thought it was quite impressive. Other really nice rare effects in it as well. I mean, there's a lovely rain effect. So far, that's all I've really seen. I don't know if there's anything else that comes out there. It should be nice to sort of see perhaps if there's some, like, I don't know, dust storm effect or perhaps a really heavy storm, maybe. Quite nice. The other thing I like about the environment is that when it's night time, it's so dark. So, I mean, really, really dark. You can't believe how dark it is. You can't see your hand in front of your face in the game. It's so striking. It makes me think of Stalker Dark. Stalker Dark was really dark, and even like Saving Hunter, when that went dark, it was very dark. So, really neat little game. So I'm walking around the island, just minding my own business. I've literally just been on there for a few minutes. And I'm just walking around. All of a sudden, this music, fanfare plays, and big screen, level up, access your inventory. Like, oh, okay. So you seem to get experience just by simply surviving, just being there, get your experience, which is quite neat. I think it takes it very slowly, but it's quite neat. Although I'm sure someone out there has probably just left their character like stuck in a corner, hidden away somewhere no one can find them, just for like several hours, just to level them as much as they can, which is quite neat. So you level up, and basically when you level up, you have a number of skills, and each skill and sort of one word actually attributes. So you've got usual things like health there. You've got the one that controls how hungry you can be, so like gives you a limit to how much food you have to wait before you can. It basically gives you like a bigger stomach, I suppose, so you can hold more food, so you can go longer between eating. Similar thing for water, you've got one for holding your breath with oxygen. Quite a lot of neat sort of things. So you increase one. Most of them seem to increase by about 10% each time, or 10 points. Some do like a little bit less than that, presumably to sort of make it a bit fairer. So do that, you agreed, and then you also get to unlock these things called engrams, which are basically a crafting recipe. You unlock them, and then once you've got that, you can then craft things. So early on engrams you'll unlock, like I did, was a stone pick, which you can use to harvest things. Now the trouble is you haven't got any stuff to harvest the stone with, so you need to go find it. Unfortunately, the only way to start by grabbing hard things is you can either pick off the ground, like stones or fibre, or you can start hitting a tree. So I hit the tree, I got loads of thatch and loads of wood, enough to make my first stone pick. I did also try hitting a boulder to get some stone, but that didn't work very well, so I had to sort of give up on that plan. So once you've got your bits, every sort of item has a recipe of what bits you need in order to craft it. And they all vary, so low level stuff doesn't need a lot, so a pick from memory needs, I think, 1 stone, a couple bits of thatch, and about 4 or 5 bits of wood. So you use those bits, craft them together, and a few seconds, wait a few seconds, and then you have your first tool that you need to work with. So you get your stone pick, and then of course you can now pick out a rock, and you'll get more stuff out of the rock. You'll get things like flint out of the rock, which allow you to build other things. If you use them on a tree, what's really neat is that different tools work better. So if you use an axe on a tree, you'll get a lot more wood. But if you use a pick on a tree, you'll get mainly thatch. A bit of wood, but mainly thatch. And as mentioned, an axe works opposite way around, which is quite neat. So you have to have the right tool for the right situation, which is a really neat idea. I quite like that. So I encourage you to have different tools. The idea that you harvest different resources, not necessarily different, but at different rates, I think is quite appealing. So you'll want more tools. Eventually, however, you are going to want to go a little bit, sort of unlocking stuff you need to survive. And probably the first thing you're going to do is unlock a fire. Because a fire is what you need to cook food. So you need quite a lot to unlock a fire. You need about 36 stones, large amount of thatch, and then literally when you've got your fire, place it on the ground, put your bits and pieces in it, and you can set it alight. Fire's very important because at night it gets very cold. So while it's cold, you can sit in the fire for warmth, but you can use it to cook things. So what do you use for cooking? Well, or more questionably, where do you get the meat from? Well, basically, you have to go out and murder some friendly animals. And most people start with the dodo. The dodo, which is pretty pathetic, it never attacks you. You usually walk up to it, whack it a few times with a fist, or you can whack it with your stone pick. And then once you've done it, you hit it a few more times, and you get to harvest what it's got. Before you know it, you've got some meat, which you then promptly put on the fire, wait a few seconds, and it cooks. And you've got cooked meat. Now, all resources eventually spoil in the game's lingo. They basically go off. It's not everything does. Food stuff don't, but certain other materials will go off, so wood never goes off. Now, if you don't use it up in that time frame, you end up with some. So let's take me as an example. If you don't cook it in a certain time frame, you end up with spoiled meat. And boiled meat, basically, you can't eat it. It just makes you ill. Well, it'll increase your hunger, but it also hurts your health and hurts other bits and pieces as well. So you don't really want to eat it. But obviously cooking basically makes the meat last longer. It doesn't make it last indefinitely, but once you've cooked it, it lasts that little bit longer, which means you can basically cook your meat and ready to go on sort of trips into the rest of the island. Obviously, you don't just got the dodos in the island, you've got lots of other animals in the island as well. So dodo is the first one you sort of come across, but you've got a lot of dinosaurs on there, of course. You've got Brontosaurus, you've got this strange tortoisey thing called a Carbonimemise. I'm not good at pronouncing names like that. Parasaurs, Phiomia, something called a trial blight, which is like this strange crustacean-y thing that comes out of the sea. You've got a nice sort of classic like the Stegosaurus, which is quite nice. I do like a good Stegosaurus. So you get all these different animals, and you can dinosaurs you can tame to put saddles on, or you can hunt them. And if you kill them, you get lots of hide and lots of meat, and hides are getting used for high level stuff. So they're then many. One thing you might risk when you're doing that is, of course, dying. There's many ways to die in the game. So in the first hour I played, I fell to death and died from falling a great distance. I also died of drowning. I also managed to get killed by an animal. One of those Cambodian took a disliking for the fact that I was trying to, kill it, to take some stuff off. I mean, I just walked up to it and punched it just to see what would happen. And it wasn't a good idea, so I got killed by them. I also got killed by some raptors, a bit on that later. I also got killed by these things called Titaomyomys, which is basically a giant ant. Apologies for the jingling just now, it was my dog. So you organise several times. Now when you die, it's not the end of the game. You basically respawn somewhere on the area you've already explored. Not anywhere on the island randomly, it has been area you've explored. If you've created either a bed or a sleeping bag, you can choose to respawn there. Beds are unlimited. Sleeping bags you can only respawn at a few times. No, sorry, one time, and then it disappears. But that makes sense. I like the idea you can take a sleeping bag with you as you go around the environment. Once you do respawn, you wake up with no gear or resources. Everything you've collected is gone. Everything you've made is gone. You literally start from scratch. But you do maintain your level and you maintain your unlocks. So you aren't completely start from scratch. You can so you don't worry about getting to level 50, say, then dying and being back at level 1. You don't. You are literally just carry on. So you never lose progress in a way. But obviously, as you get higher levels, you need more resources to make those things. So you soon find yourself running out. So I mentioned that you end up randomly on the island somewhere you've explored. Now, to help track you do get a map, but what the map doesn't do, it doesn't show you where you are. It just shows the area you've explored. It does show you where you are once you die, so you can sort of see how far you were from your navigation. But you have to sort of try and find land and so forth. You can place markers on the map where you think you are, but again, you have to sort of work out where you are first before you place your marker. The first marker I basically put on there was where I might put my fire. I marked it with fire! Emphasising Tom Hanks from... Was it Tom Hanks in that film where he got stranded on the island? I'm going to assume it is, but I can't remember what it was called. I'm going to call it Tom Hanks Lost on an Island by Warner Brothers. And you basically get there and you can... So as long as you put marks where everything is, you can hopefully find your way back. Now, obviously, it depends on how good you're navigating, and you have to specify exactly where you want these marks to be, which is quite helpful. I mean, I was quite pleased that I managed to work out where my fire was reasonably, or close enough that I could find it if I needed to. As time goes on the island, you'll see you can also get resources from other ways. And what happens is, occasionally these things will come out of the sky, and there'll be like a storage box that you can get resources from. Now, you'll see them as like a bright, shining beam of light in the distance. And you see them, think, I'm going to head there. So you start heading towards it. You start fording rivers, avoiding monsters, getting closer. And you keep sort of hunting. You might come across a cliff face, but you get closer still. And you keep doing it. And eventually you'll get really close to the point you can almost spit at it. You'll run up to it. You'll open up and then get killed by something. At least you did when I first played it. A little complaint I have to say is the first one I could open myself, but later ones, of all ones I've had more recently, I'm too low level to open, which is very irritating because how much you go a long way out your way to try and find these things, and then find, oh, I can't open it, and you've had a wasted trip, and there's no reason why you should be able to open it. I mean, there's no logical reason. Just there's a level as a control method to say, okay, you mustn't open these up yet. We'll put a level cap on it. Very irritating. So, you spend time on your island, and you'll build resources. You're about to build a nice sort of thatched house. You get to live in. You'll have wood. You may, as time goes on, you're about to upgrade, get wooden buildings, all the way to brick and metal buildings quite neatly. So you can sort of gradually progress, and as you get more stuff, you can explore the island more. And I'm really enjoying it. I must say, I'm really enjoying the game. Now, the game isn't without its bugs. First thing you'll notice as you go around the island is the frame rate issues. And they are awful, really, to start with. I'm getting anywhere between 10 and 40 FPS. And if I try and record it, it's terrible. I actually was recording my first sort of impression of the game using Bandicam, which is not an intensive program to use, but it frame was so jittery, and I had so many little mini freezes. Like every few seconds, every sort of few minutes, the game would just freeze, only for a few seconds, but it would freeze and then resume. And it seemed at random. There did seem to be no sort of logic to it at all. It just seemed to happen quite randomly. And I basically found that I was like, oh, okay. It threw off all my audio and my recording, so I couldn't use it, which is why I did this video instead, actually. But I'm hoping they'll optimise these frame rates and get them sort of a bit more steadier, because it is really, that's probably my big irritation. In fact, I'd rather them concentrate, rather than adding new features, I think that's one thing they need to concentrate more on now. Let's get the frame rate sorted, because that is such a big thing and affects the game so much. And I've not got a crappy rig by any means. It's not a super high-end supercomputer by no means at all. But it is a decent gaming rig. It's decent enough that I can use it to play pretty much any game at max, sort of what I call native resolution, which in my case is 1080p. I can play any game at that resolution, but this one just really crashes it. I've fiddled the graphics options and nothing really resolves it, so that's what I'm hoping they'll concentrate working on. Other little minor things, so I mentioned audio drift in my video. Well, actually, fact, the audio drift is in the game as well. For some reason, walking, there's a distinctive half second, for me anyway, distinctive half second delay from me starting to walk to the noise starts, the sound sign, and then likewise, when I stop, the sound carries on for half a second before it stops. So, listen, it doesn't appear to be a case of other noises, it just appears to be walking, so there's obviously something going on there, that animation or subroutine that controls it, there's something going on there. Other little things, like when you're on water, if you get to the surface, you'll bob constantly up and down below the surface, which means you can't really concentrate on what you're doing. You can't really sit on the surface and look round. You are just up, down, up, down, up, down, blurry, unblurry, blurry, unblurry. Very distracting and really a nightmare to play with, so that's quite annoying. As a feature, which they haven't got, which I hope they will add, is a sleep function. So I'm playing a single player game, which is basically a single player server. And I would love to be able to, at night, when it's like, okay, it's too cold to go out, it's really dark, can't see anything, I will not go to sports in the morning. I'd like to be able to just go to a bed and just sleep for the night. Which is what I would do if I was really in that situation. I'd go to bed. I've got to sleep sometimes. Perhaps it's a nice added mechanic. Perhaps you could have to your fatigue mechanic, a case of if you don't sleep, your fatigue drops. Or like it's sort of maximum, it can be like halves, just to sort of show you're getting tired. That'd be quite nice, you know. So I do hope they have some sort of sleep function. Honestly, I guess that's because it's meant to be played multiplayer. So obviously Steam wouldn't work too well in multiplayer, but it'd be nice if they could do something with it. But overall, I'm really enjoying Ark. I think it's got a lot of potential. There's not that many bugs really they need to work out from what I've played so far. I've not encountered many. And it's a nice expansive game. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping with through my fellow Rant nerds, we're going to try and make a tribe which we could then sort of take the island over with and sort of become really like sort of hermits and mountains that we don't let anyone nearby and we murder them if they do come too close. That's what I'd like to sort of achieve in my tribe, but we'll see how that pans out. Whether I can convince the others to take the game up. Well, I think some have already played it. It's convincing them to let's form a tribe type moods, but. Overall, I have to say, Ark Survival World is a really neat game, and I definitely have to recommend it. So, if you do like the idea of a survival horror game set with a load of dinosaurs, I strongly recommend you give Ark a go. Until next time I speak to you, I hope you've enjoyed this little Ram Rants and this little first impressions. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.